Hey, so we're going to start off with the D-line. Yesterday we went over position groups. We did quarterback. Of course, talked about Arch Manning, who is backing up Arch Manning. We talked about the receiver room, tight end room even. Jack Endries comes in from Cal. That is the big pickup in the transfer portal. Expecting big things from him and Arch Manning together. Wide receiver room is pretty stacked. We don't know. I mean, you guys, we've talked about it. I think we feel good about like a Ryan Wingo. DeAndre Moore is totally fine. One of those guys will emerge, or maybe one of the, who knows, could be a true freshman as wide receiver one. I probably feel best about Ryan Wingo. I think we all do. But DeAndre Moore is going to be right there with him. There's a lot of weapons on this team is my point. CJ Baxter comes back as well for the running back room. We know Trey Wisner, Jarrett Gibson, all those. And then we talked about the O-line, which has some questions outside the 40 acres. People asking, well, you lost a lot in the draft. Actually, 4 of them are in the NFL now.
Yeah, because
how do you replenish?
Seniors. We were gonna
exactly.
If they didn't get
right?
drafted,
Calvin
they
Banks
were out of eligibility.
Yeah. Well, besides Cam Williams, I mean, he could have definitely came back. He ended up going to the 6th round to the Philadelphia Eagles. He's a potential guy for sure.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them because that guy's got all the attributes physically. But we roll on, and there's a lot of guys that have been here in the program and are next man up kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And so I think there's less doubt than people should have with the offensive line. There's a lot of good players. Some have over 38 starts, as we mentioned. So they are coming in with experience. This is a position group, though, on the edge side of things, I feel pretty solid where defense stacks up. Left end, technically, at that spot, you got guys like Ethan Burke, Colton Vostek. We got Lance Jackson as well. Colin Simmons is going to be the name to watch out for this year. He's going to have another breakout year. He had a great year last year. Switching to number 1, fellas. I don't know if you saw this. Rocking the number uno. I think he announced that on Instagram yesterday. Looking cold as ever. Zina Zulu, excuse me. He's also going to be one of the edge washers to watch out for. Cole Brevard as a defensive tackle. Hero Canoe out of Ohio State transfers in. Travis Saw, Alex January, Justice Terry. The list goes on there. A lot of guys on that position. Defensive tackle. How are we feeling there? Sweat left last year, obviously. Alfred Collins, another guy who's been in the interior. Baron Sorrell is another name to mention. He's gone. Broughton is also gone. A lot of guys got drafted on this D-line. How do we feel about production coming back? Obviously, Colin Simmons off the edge. Even Trey Moore, another name to watch out for him as edge rusher. Second year here at Texas from UTSA. How are we feeling about what we got on the defensive line here at Texas?
Very good. Ethan Burke was playing kind of a hybrid role last year between the edge and the linebacker, and this year they believe that they're going to kind of keep him as a full-time edge rusher. And then when you look at Trey Moore, he had 36 tackles last year, 5.5 of them being sacks at the edge position. And I think that it'll be Moore's going to be an even more difficult presence for opposing offensive lines to slow down because he's a year older and he's going to be a year better. And then I haven't even mentioned Colin Simmons, so it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm content with what we got there. Travis Shaw at the defensive tackle position. He's come to UT after transferring from UNC, and I think he's projected to be the starting defensive tackle for this year. And the sophomore Alex January is right behind him. We have a great front presence. It improved last year. That was the big issue in question mark behind the horns last year. Can they get to the quarterback? We did not do a good job of getting to the quarterback. We had pressures, but we never brought quarterbacks down. And let alone seeing Trey Moore have 5.5 sacks, I'll take that. Take that all day.
Yeah, Jack, how do we feel about the defensive line? Colin Simmons speaks for himself. He's going to be, I believe, a top 5 pick, not this year, but next year. We already know that. He could be. But what do you feel about the interior of this defense? Obviously lost some guys on it, but I still think this could be easily a top 10 defensive line in my eyes coming into it. What are your opinions, though?
Yeah, I think that I've said on this show, I think this is going to be the best pass rush we've ever seen at Texas. I think these guys...
9 sacks for Colin Simmons last year in his true freshman year.
Yeah, Colin Simmons is going to be a maniac. Obviously, Anthony Hill he's a linebacker, but they send him at the quarterback quite often. I mean, we could honestly, I know we're going to, just for the sake of having segments and stuff, going to separate it up, but with some of these linebackers and with some of these edge rushers, it's a lot of the same room. We know that Trey Moore is going to drop back in coverage some this year, all in the name of confusing offenses and disguising what you're doing as a defense. But I think the question is fair for the defensive line, the interior, the big tackles, the big nose guards and stuff, because we had it 2 years ago when Alfred Collins and Tavondre Sweat, you could not run the ball on Texas. You just couldn't.
That's where their strength was.
Excuse me. Last year in the Big 12, you could not run the ball on Texas. They get drafted. The question is, well, how are you going to replace those guys?
Right.
They attack the portal. You bring in a Bill Norton, a Tia Savea. I know I'm going to, forget some of those names early in the morning, but you brought in a bunch of basically super seniors to fill that defensive tackle spot. Obviously, Alfred Collins was in there too, going out now to San Francisco. Is that right?
Yeah, Alfred Collins went to the Niners.
You're going to have to replace all those guys. Alfred
Vernon
Collins,
Broughton went to the
Vernon
Saints.
Broughton. Thank you.
Yep.
But I mean,
guys that
Aaron
were in your
Sorrell.
program for a long time. So you were thinking like, oh well, how are we going to replace Collins and Alfred Collins and Tavondre Sweat? Well, you did it last year. How many?
Byron Murphy.
Goal line stands were there in that A&M game alone.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just absolutely lethal up front. But that is why I have some confidence in these new guys that are coming in with Kenny Baker. I think he's recruiting the position well. Obviously, Justice Terry probably won't play a ton this year, but that dude's going to be a freak in the coming years.
Yeah.
Number one defensive tackle in his class. It's basically just you don't have known commodities, right?
For sure. Besides,
but they have experience, is what I would say.
They do, exactly. But it was the same. I'm basically saying it's the exact same situation we found ourselves in a year ago. Where it's like,
I agree.
you brought in transfers, and you have some guys that are in your program that have shown flashes, but have not. Like Alfred Collins, he showed him like that interception he had on the goal line against Colorado, or, on the line of scrimmage against Colorado in that last bowl game for Tom Herman. Noah made a face at that.
Ooh, Tom Herman. That's why.
But
So he'd been around.
so basically, it's the exact same thing as a year ago.
Right.
You're just saying, well, we don't know who these guys are. Can they perform? And last year they did. Will they perform this year? So I understand, much like the offensive line, I understand why people aren't. It cannot inspire the most confidence because you just don't know. But I have the utmost faith in this coaching staff, Kyle Flood and Kenny Baker, to have the trenches ready. I think Sark knows the importance of the trenches in the SEC. So I think that defensive line, it absolutely is a question going into the season, but I think it's one we'll know the answer of.
Yeah, you have the advantage of the fact that offensive line, in comparison to defensive line, we rotated a lot of these guys in last year.
Sure.
You keep a fresh body to keep that offensive line tired. While they didn't have the majority of the playing time, these guys have been there, and they can get after it. They're a year older. They're a year stronger. We're a year faster.
I think it'll get better as the year goes on, kind of what you're saying there. Listen, they were, despite us not thinking tons of sacks, they had second most sacks in the SEC with 46 in total.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, third in rush defense in total. They're averaging just under 110 yards per game on the rush side of the ball.
And
Colin Simmons, 9 sacks. Trey Moore had 9.5 tackles for losses. Just lacked on the sacks specifically. But now you're going to get him in a year two where more pressure is going to be on Colin Simmons to get to the quarterback, because he might get legitimately doubled, because that's how much of a force he is, and then that's going to open up more holes for Trey Moore on the outside and the inside. Travis Shaw and Cole Brevard, you mentioned this. Those guys are over 330 pounds, and they're going to clog up that lane, no doubt about it. Those transfers are. So, hey, I think the defensive line does not skip too much of a beat. I think it's still top 10. I mean, when we talk about teams that have a great defensive line, I've talked about this team, but probably Oklahoma's got one of the best defensive lines. That's where their strong suit is. When you talk about teams you're going to be playing this year, Clemson is a really good defensive line as well. Alabama, Texas Tech added to it as well. But Texas, one of the best, if not, I'd say second or third best. Feel pretty confident. Maybe Alabama is ahead of them currently. Georgia's going to be coming back with a decent amount of defensive tackles, and Florida. So those are kind of the names to watch out for. A lot of talent still on that defensive line. And like you said, I mean, we thought it was a little underwhelming when it came to sack production, but they had the second most in the SEC, which is pretty remarkable.